everybody else can go to hell. Stephanie White's explosive curse ignited the WNBA press room, with fans demanding her firing and political agendas targeting Caitlin Clark. Will this media storm crush the Indiana Fever?
So bad, I started banging Tyrone to get over my insecurity the way you made me feel 3 years ago. Fellas, stop me when I start lying. Okay, I've interpreted Stephanie White's pregame press conference yesterday. But let's don't stick with the interpretation. I want you to interpret it. I want you to listen to Stephanie White hang herself with her own words.
No, I'm going to start today. This isn't necessarily for those people that are in this room. This is more for an online community that's trying to create narratives that simply don't exist. Trying to create a fabrication or distortion of who I am, of what I'm about. Our players' success, our players' health and wellness, our players' safety is always a top priority for me. One of the things I pride myself on is my relationships with players. For those who have anything to say about the play in the last game, I didn't see the play in real time. I went straight to a press conference. I thought the play got called right. Thankfully, Sophie's okay. Was it egregious? Absolutely. When you have a chance to watch that over and over and over on replay, you can see that. I didn't have that in real time.
Were there any
I take personally any suggestions that I don't 100% always have my players back. I ride with them 10 toes down all the time. All the time. They know that. It's a shame that we can't have an opportunity because they are playing. The reality is, with me, I will always lead with love. I will always lead with grace. I will always lead with humility. And I will always lead with integrity. Doesn't mean I'll always get it right. I'm also human. The hate, the fear-mongering, the divisiveness, the stuff that's trying to hijack our league will not win. It won't win. We are united. We are connected. We will not be divided. Every day these women put their on the line. Every day. When they go low, we go high. Love will win. Grace will win. Humility will win. And kindness will win. I stand by them. I will always stand by them. Everybody else can go to hell.
That was that love and grace she was talking about. That was the whole production. Rough
people booing her on our own home court? I'm talking about coach of the Indiana Fever, Stephanie White. People booing her. You had a lieutenant governor, invoking himself into the equation or implementing himself into the proceedings, calling for her to be fired. And it's created an uproar. Let me just put it where the goats can get it, because evidently people don't want to do that. The WNBA, and I want to emphasize, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm certainly not saying it's right. And I will speak out against those that are doing this in a second. But it's important that the WNBA wakes up and acknowledges something. There's a lot of people that don't like you. There's a lot of people that don't like you. I'm talking about the league. We got to stop playing games. And we got to get down to the nitty-gritty of this all. I see my girl, Janae Ogumake, who is a sensational basketball analyst, and yesterday, Andrea Carter, another sensational basketball analyst. I think they're two of the best basketball analysts in America. They are doing everything they can in terms of how people view the league. Then Caitlin Clark comes into the league. And when she comes into the league, what happens? They start sitting up there because she's a big-time talent. And this is still America. And I don't give a damn what sport it is, but when you can find a great white hope, that's a beautiful thing. Economically, because there's more white folks in America than any other group at this particular moment in time, even though the numbers have dissipated throughout the decades. from a popular standpoint, they're still the majority in this country, and it's still good for business. I don't give a damn what sport it is. You got a superstar who is white that is good for business. Let's keep it a buck. Let's stop playing games. And rather than riding that cash cow and acknowledging the reality of a rising tide lifting all boats, there were some who were resistant to it. They weren't resistant to Caitlin Clark specifically. They weren't resistant to a white star. What they were resistant to was folks acting like the WNBA never mattered with all the hard work that they put forth all of these decades until Caitlin Clark came along. That's where the resentment lied. My attitude is, hey, Asia Wilson, the best player in the world. Wait till you see this girl, Juju Watkins, out of USC coming, streaming everywhere. Rising tide lifts all boats. Some people were resistant to that when it came to Caitlin Clark. They were resistant to it. And what do you got folks on the right? Yeah, I'm calling them out. What do you got folks on the right doing? They're politicizing it. What other excuse can you just, what's the lieutenant governor of Indiana getting his ass involved in this incident for? He's trying to politicize it. Why? Because it's been politically expedient. Why? Because when you create that kind of divide in a binary political system, it forces one side against the other. And I point the finger at them, but I also point the finger at the WNBA for not seeing this coming and warding it off the path. Why do you have language in your CBA agreement talking about the league is designated for women, but you don't have a clear definition of what a woman is? So you got to have meetings with presidents and GMs so you can clarify that situation. Allowing men who played in the NBA to sit up there and talk about they making themselves eligible for the WNBA 2027 draft. And Enos can't.
Look at the brutal and undeniable reality unfolding right before our eyes. The WNBA is currently spiraling into absolute unmitigated chaos. And this is no longer just a simple conversation about X's and O's, three-point percentages, or box score stat lines. We are actively witnessing a full-scale institutional media meltdown where the sacred line between elite professional athletics and ruthless political warfare has been completely incinerated. And sitting right at the absolute epicenter of this raging, destructive firestorm is none other than the Indiana Fever and their beleaguered head coach, Stephanie White. To truly understand how a promising franchise imploded in a matter of days, we have to trace everything back to that horrific, chilling moment on the court when Dejanay Carrington delivered a violent, reckless swipe directly across Sophie Cunningham's face, sending the Fever star crashing hard onto the hardwood with a bloody mouth. This wasn't just a routine physical basketball play. It was a devastating, heavy-handed collision that demanded an immediate, ferocious defense from the bench. But instead of delivering a fierce, uncompromising stand to protect her player, what fans received from Stephanie White post-game was a shockingly passive, borderline soft response. Walking straight to the podium, White claimed she didn't see the replay in real time, downplayed the severity of the foul, and even went out of her way to offer polite accolades, describing Carrington as a hard-nosed competitor. That single tone-deaf statement instantly sparked an inferno of uncontrollable rage across the Indiana Fever fan base. The feeling of betrayal spread through the sports world like wildfire. When the team returned to Gainbridge Fieldhouse for their next home game, an unprecedented disaster struck the franchise. Home fans erupted in unison to loudly boo their own head coach during player introductions. To be publicly humiliated and rejected on your home court by the very people paying for tickets is a nightmare scenario. The crushing psychological pressure became suffocating, and Stephanie White's composure shattered into pieces. Then came the final, shocking breaking point at the subsequent press conference. Instead of displaying the steady, dignified demeanor expected of a professional head coach managing a crisis, Stephanie White turned the podium into a personal, emotional rage room. She slammed her hands on the desk, raised her voice at reporters, and unleashed an unhinged, profanity-laced rant, capped off by the infamous declaration, "Everybody else can go to hell."
This wasn't a tactical leader protecting her team from external attacks. This was the tragic image of a spiraling head coach completely losing control of her locker room and grasping at profanity like a desperate life raft in a hurricane. What makes this entire disaster even more cynical and frustrating is the staged, artificial PR facade pushed out by the Indiana Fever front office. Look closely at the media clips of Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham forced to address the media. They were paraded in front of cameras like hostages to run crisis PR and clean up the mess left by their head coach. Caitlin Clark admitted she felt a little sick watching home fans boo White, while Sophie Cunningham offered forced, uncomfortable smiles, insisting Steph didn't see the clip and we're totally fine. That isn't a locker room naturally standing united in solidarity. That is a corporate hostage video produced under heavy lighting. The league's two biggest stars were weaponized as human shields to absorb the backlash of an unhinged post-game meltdown. However, the firestorm didn't stop at the boundary of professional basketball. The moment the controversy went viral, political vultures from all directions immediately swarmed to tear the league apart for their own agenda.
The lieutenant governor of Indiana publicly intervened into the sports landscape, demanding Stephanie White's immediate termination. Simultaneously, the Florida Attorney General issued public statements threatening legal prosecution over on-court flagrant fouls. Why are high-ranking political figures suddenly hyper-fixated on a hard foul in a women's basketball game? Because they quickly realized the WNBA is the ultimate explosive culture war battlefield ahead of the upcoming midterm elections. With over 45% of its top stars publicly identifying as members of the LGBTQ+ community, the league represents a massive progressive cultural symbol. Political operatives saw an opportunity to hijack the controversy, spark binary voter outrage, and drive political donations. They don't care about Indiana's pick-and-roll coverage or roster depth. They care about exploiting a sports scandal to manipulate voters. And standing right in the eye of this raging hurricane is Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation commercial phenomenon who single-handedly transformed the financial landscape of women's sports. Clark's arrival brought millions of new eyes, record-breaking television ratings, sold-out arenas, and multi-billion-dollar media deals. True to the classic phrase, a rising tide lifts all boats, Clark brought unprecedented prosperity to the entire league. Yet the meteoric, hyper-publicized rise of a white superstar rookie inadvertently ignited deep-seated racial tensions, institutional jealousy, and long-standing resentment that had been simmering beneath the surface for years. Every hard foul against Clark or her teammates is no longer just basketball. It is dissected under a magnifying glass of media tribalism and political spin. The WNBA is currently standing at a terrifying, historic crossroads. The league and its franchises can no longer afford to cower behind generic corporate PR statements about just wanting to focus on basketball. When hostile political forces and media narrative spinners come at you with maximum intensity, passive weakness and silence only guarantee complete institutional destruction. Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever executive team chose to circle the wagons, attack their own fan base, and blame online communities for creating fake narratives. That is a catastrophic, self-destructive business strategy. In the brutal world of professional sports entertainment, when you openly curse out and alienate the very fans who buy your merchandise and fill your seats, you are effectively signing a death warrant for your franchise's culture. So here is the ultimate polarizing question for all of us to debate. Can the Indiana Fever ever recover from this devastating crisis of trust when their own head coach burned the bridge with their home fan base? Or is this just the beginning of a total institutional collapse for the WNBA under the overwhelming weight of political warfare, locker room friction, and front office incompetence? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that subscribe button, and let's get this debate started.
Thanks for watching Basketball Central. What do you think about today's story? Do you agree with our take, or do you see it differently? Let us know in the comments. We read them all and love hearing your opinions. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Basketball Central, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest WNBA news, breaking stories, and in-depth analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.